Welcome to part 2 of how to power Unreal Engine with audio via Ableton Live. In part 1 I showed you how to do it with our envelope and kind of set up a basic system, and then this is where it's going to start to get a little bit more complex but a lot more powerful, where we introduce Midi into the mix. So let's get started. Here we are, we're in Ableton, and we're going to take a slightly different approach here. Instead of using just audio, we're going to take raw Midi data and convert that to OSC messages. This is a lot more powerful because it gives us like on and off data as well as velocity that's tied exactly to the music we're creating. We're still going to use the envelope stuff for other reasons, but this kind of opens up a lot more possibilities. So let's make a new track. In fact, let's find, let's just make something to work with that isn't this drum thing. I'm going to use, here we go. Let's take this ostinato so we can hear that. Pretty cool. And this is a MIDI clip, like we're actually getting the MIDI data from this, so you can see, where are we? Yeah, so it's not just audio. That's cool. Now there is a module that does this. Let's find it here. If we search OSC in our Max for Live, we were using OSC send before. There's this MIDI send, and it does work. Like we can see it sending the data out. The problem with it is that it sends separate data for on and off messages, which actually causes a lot of problems in Unreal. I've tried a few different ways to kind of incorporate it without having to create my own objects, but it's never really worked. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to create our own version of this, which isn't too complex, but just follow along. You only have to do this bit once, but it does give you a little bit of a grounding of like how to use Max for Live and how to like create your own objects and do what you want. So we're going to get rid of this one, and then we're going to go, just get rid of the search function bit. We're going to go Max MIDI effect. I'm going to drag that down, and then we need to open the edit on that. Okay, so we are in our patcher, and this is where we're going to do some stuff. So they actually give you a little bit of information here. We've got our MIDI in, which is the MIDI coming in, and then it's hooked up to a MIDI out, which we do need because otherwise we won't get any data. In fact, I'll show you what happens when that's disconnected when we hit play. No audio, because the MIDI is coming in, but it's not getting sent to our grand piano. So this kind of allows us to do that. You can hear it again there. Let's pause that. Right, so we need to add a few things in. The first object that we need, you just double click and we want MIDI parse, which is fine. We want a poly object, and then we just need to hook this up to our poly object. And then this allows us to get our MIDI data in kind of like a numerical value, really. So MIDI parse like takes a MIDI thing and it kind of gives you all of the information about it, like the key value, control change, like loads of stuff that we don't need for this, but we could use later. And then poly allows us to use multiple MIDI messages and kind of give them like note values, because otherwise if we just used like the MIDI parse thing, it would only be kind of able to read like one MIDI note at a time. So we do need this one. But we can see what we got. We've got a voice number, which is the polyphony. Like if we got two things pressed at the same time, we need that. We actually don't need that one because all we're going to use is the pitch. We've got the pitch, which is just the note number. It's not voice number, it's the note number. So it's like E4 or E5 or C3 or whatever. But just in a numerical value. We've got the velocity, which we do need because we can hook that up, and depending on how hard the note is hit, we can use that as an animation value. And then we have overflow notes. We don't need the overflow notes. Actually, not sure what that is. I should probably look that up. But we need to combine this into a string that can be read as an OSC message. So we're going to go double click again and go combine. And then we're going to go /note. And then we're going to do a space and an underscore. And then we're going to go, we're going to maybe say reference. So we can use like a particular reference for whatever module that we want to use, or whatever instrument, I guess, that we want to use. So therefore later we can like filter those out per graphics module or whatever. So say you've got like a piano here and some drums there or whatever, we can say this is piano. We want this animation to be used fed from the piano. Without that, you're just getting like random MIDI messages, or not random, like, but you would get the drums would be affecting everything else and vice versa. Another space, and then we're going to go pitch num, another space, underscore another space, and then vel num for like velocity. And then we need to add this at the end. We go at triggers. And I think, well, actually, we'll do it in a second. So see how all these like pins added up at the top, like up at the top? That's like each time you do a space, like it adds a different, the thing adds a different pin. So we can see this one is our /note. That's our first underscore. This is our reference. That's another underscore. That's our pitch number. So actually, we probably want to use the pitch number. So that would be number 4. So let's go at triggers and then 4. And what that means is that this gets triggered every time like the pitch number gets changed, which is good because that's all gets triggered because that's kind of what we want. Right, so let's get our pitch, and that's going to go into our pitch number. Going to get our velocity, and that's going to go into our velocity number. And then we need a, I think we want like a text edit. Yeah, there we go. And then this, we're going to go into our reference here. In fact, no, we need something before that. We need a root text, because by default, the message that's coming out of this will be whatever's in here. In fact, we can just quickly put something in here and we go test. Will be like text underscore text, which we don't want. We want just the text thing. So that basically removes the text from it. Cool. So now we can, let's do a little message and see what we're getting when this gets like hit. So we'll hit play. Nothing yet, because we're not sending this to this as well. It was a space. There's a lot of like stuff like this that you need in here. So yeah, just to reiterate, yeah, you hook both of these up, and then you need like a space between your triggers and your number. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And we can see here that we've got our /note underscore reference. Let's just make this a bit bigger. And then we've got our pitch and our velocity, which is going to go between 0 and whatever the velocity is that we want. Right. I think it's because I haven't changed this on the fly. So if I change this now, yeah, that'll change to like test there. And what we can do as well is, you notice this like vertical limit bit. If we like bring this up here, this, when we save it, will now appear. Let's just call this MIDI to OSC module. We save it, and then we lock this. Or yeah, we've now got this here. So we can make some adjustments here. And in fact, actually, what might be quite useful is if we have this up here as well. It looks a bit messy now. There is a way to like make it prettier without having it have messy like that. But it doesn't matter right now. We won't do that. So let's go like that. So yeah, we can see that we've got our thing. And in fact, we need to put the test in again. Yeah, so we're getting that. So that is now creating a message, but it's not being sent anywhere. We need to do that bit next. So for that, we need another object. Zoom in a bit. And this one is called UDP send. And then we just need to put in, similar to how we had before, we need our IP address. So just as a reminder, I'm just going to go press the Windows key, type in CMD, press enter. That gets us our command prompt. And then from here we go IP config. There we go, 192.168.1_22, which is fine. So let's go here. It's red because we haven't put anything in. 192.168.1.22, and then we need the port as well. We were using 2346 before. We use the same one. We can use it multiple times. Like the server is on the Unreal Engine side, so it will receive as many OSC messages as we send from various places. So yeah, that's going to send an OSC message to this address, and I'm pretty sure all you need to do is just hook this up, and then that should be working. So let's save this, hit play, just turn it down a bit, And then let's go over to Unreal Engine and see what we got. Right, we're back in the same project as we were before. We need to make some adjustments. So we're going to OSC receiver. We're going to get rid of this. We're also going to get rid of this, or we're just going to plug it straight in. So we're getting our address that's being sent. We're going to compile that and we're going to test it. Cool, it's working. Right, so we're getting /note, underscore reference, underscore, and then pitch, and then velocity, which is exactly what we need. Right, so that is the basis of like giving us some MIDI stuff. We notice this isn't being animated anymore because we've unhooked it. We're also not playing it in live, but we can start setting some stuff up here and making it a little bit more dynamic. So before, we were animating directly inside of this receiver object, but that doesn't scale very well. We would kind of need to like duplicate this, and also we wouldn't want to have more than one OSC server. So what we're going to do is we're going to edit this a bit, and this object we're going to use as our like receiver and kind of like router, and then we can add objects on top of that that then pull from that and get the data from it. So let's get rid of a little bit of stuff. We can get rid of all this. In fact, no, let's not get rid of it. We're just going to disconnect it because we might want to use it in the future in like another module or whatever. So we'll just leave it there for now. It's not gonna bother us. Not gonna do anything. That's fine. Let's make a bit more space here. But what we do need to do is make a couple of new objects. So here we go. We're going to go here and we're going to go blueprint. Oh, you can't see it because it's below my screen, but you scroll down to blueprint and then you want blueprint interface. And we're going to go OSC interface. Okay, so we go into OSC interface. And then what an interface basically is an object that sits between different blueprints, basically. So we can kind of like attach it to a blueprint, and it's kind of saying, this blueprint now has this functionality. Let's do some stuff. So let's add some functions into it. We'll go OSC Midi. And then we want to put a message on here. We want that to be a string, which is fine. And then we want to duplicate that, and then we'll call this one float, which is still going to be the same message, and that's fine. But we've basically got two things now. So we go into our class settings, we can add that here, OSC interface, and you can see that it showed up with these like interface things, which is great. And then we can, we no longer got our like animation happening on here. So we need to do that elsewhere. So let's do another blueprint class as an actor, and let's call this test module. Cool. We've got our test module. We can. We already got rid of the animation on here and like the objects on here. We need to open our test module, and then we need to go to our class settings on here. Add our OSC interface to here, and now we've got these two things. And then let's drag this in. Let's implement our MIDI event, and let's go print string, do that, boom. And then let's go back to our OSC receiver. I'm going to get rid of this print string, because otherwise it's going to confuse us. And then we're going to drag out from here and go get all actors with interface. And we want the OSC interface. We're going to go for each on these. And then on each of those, we're going to say MIDI message. And then this is the message that we're going to send them for the MIDI one. We're not going to use this one because this is where we've attached a float. We only want to use that for the envelope data. Otherwise, it's just going to like confuse things basically. So we just need to put our new test module in the scene. There's no like animation on it or anything. Let's just see if it works. Brilliant. Yeah, so this is now printing from that module. And in fact, we can just like prove that if we go to our test module and just change that to like hello. Like every time we get a message, we'll get the thing there, which is great. That's exactly what we want. Which is great because now we've got this separate module. We can do our animation in here, and that'll just give us the thing we want. Like it'll allow us to kind of create multiple versions of this with this same setup. So what we'll do is we'll put some functionality into here. Actually, we'll say we want to like filter out these notes based on like the given reference. Because if you remember, we're using this kind of like text reference as an option to kind of like filter out what we want. So yeah, it's now saying reference. So what we'll do is we'll go contains, and let's just make this a variable, and we'll go reference, compile that. Oh, no, it hasn't compiled. There we go. And we'll just put in like, I don't know, we'll just say test into there. And we'll go branch. And if it does contain that thing, it's going to print the string. And just bear in mind what we've just said test here, not the reference that's coming in. So it's not going to put anything in, but as soon as we change this name here to test, then hopefully we start seeing some data. Yeah, here we go. So we're getting the pitch, and we're getting the velocity, and the fact that it's got the test thing in there, which is super helpful because we can now use that in lots of different things. So let's go back to Unreal. Let's make this one instance editable and expose on spawn. So we're filtering out the message. We've got our reference here. So we're only going to get the ones that we've put in. At the moment, we've got the test thing. And now we need a way of like sending this to like multiple places. So we're going to create a function, and we're going to go ask message filtered. And then on this, we're going to add some inputs where you're just going to have the full message, because we might want to use that. Change that to string. We want the pitch, which is going to be a integer. And we also want the velocity with a capital V, just for posterity. Back to our event graph. And then we're going to go, just pull that out. And then we're going to do that. We're going to get the message, and then we need to get the pitch and the velocity. Now, the way that we can do that, we've got our full message here, and we can go parse into array with our delimiter of a underscore. The reason we're doing that is because if we look in here, our message that we're sending is made up of a bunch of elements split up by underscores. So by using this object here, we're now saying like, this is the first element of the array, this is the second, this is the third, this is the fourth. So what we can do is we can go get a copy. And we actually want the third one, which is going to be 0, 1, 2, which is going to be our pitch. And then we're going to do the same again. If I just copy and paste that and go 3, and this is going to be our velocity. And we can hook these up to our pitch and our velocity. And now we're getting kind of like filtered messages that we can use for different things. And I did this kind of separately, but yeah, this was called like test module or something before. I've renamed it to parent module. So this is going to be like the thing that we make all of our modules from. So we can do that now. We can right click, go child blueprint class, and then we're here, and we've got our couple of bits we need to add in here. So first of all, we need to go up here, and we need to show inherited variables. So that'll show that we've got our reference here. And then in our functions, we can go into override, and we can go OSC message filtered. And then we can see we've got this. And then we can convert that to an event. And then now we've got like the data that we're getting off of it. So we can pull this in to this thing, and it's going to be like pre-filtered. And yeah, it should just work. So let's just test that out. Let's go print string. And then, yeah, this has still got test on there, which is fine. Let's play in live. And in fact, we need to put this child object in here, otherwise it's not going to do anything. And let's get back to parent module and just get rid of the print string, because that's going to confuse things. And then let's play. Yep, sweet. So that's working. And then if we change this reference in here to something else, test 2 maybe, then yeah, nothing's going to come up. So what's great about this now is that like we've got a system where we're sending our messages out to like every blueprint that has this interface, and then we can change this functionality at any time, and then all of our child modules will get updated as well. So say we want to like change the way that messages are formatted or whatever, we don't have to go and do that for every module that we create, and we're going to create a lot in the future, so watch this space. But it's great because it means like, say we want to filter them in a different way, or we want to use different like setups for the array, or different like pitch data, or change how we use velocities. All we have to do is go back to do it in our parent module, and we can be developing this without having to mess with it anywhere else. As well as add extra functionality, like currently we've only got the MIDI data, we can add on the envelope data and all the rest of it. So let's just see what we've got. So yeah, we want this as test, and then let's just put out the pitch and see what we get here. So here we're getting the pitch, and then, yeah, we want, I don't know, see what we get for the velocity. So we're getting the velocity and so on and so forth. So that's pretty cool. Let's start adding some animation. So we've got our OSC messages, and this is like our MIDI stuff, but we want envelope as well. So let's do that. Let's go back into here. And then, actually, no, we need to go into our receiver. Yeah, we do, because we need to send the envelope data. So we'll come out here, we'll go OSC float into here. And then this is the bit that we're going to take. So where we've combined like the message with the float data, we're going to put that into there. So that just means that all of them are getting. So we're going to go back into our parent module, not the child. And then we're going to add an event. We're going to go OSC. No, it's not. We want it in the interface, don't we? OSC float, right click, implement event, and then we get that down here. So that's going to hit every time we do that. And then on here, let's do. Let's just make another function. Actually, let's call this OSC float. And then, yeah, we'll get back to here. We'll pull out OSC float, hook that up, and then let's add on to that. Let's say float message, string, float message. Cool. So now on our other child, we can do this again. We've got our float thing now, so we can implement that as an event, and we're going to get that as well. So what I'll do is let's hit play on that, and let's hit play in here. So we're getting that. Oh, I know why, because we're not like filtering it out by envelope. So it's sending every message that we get. So actually, we want to do that in our, and we're going to go to contains, envelope, branch, and then only send it if it has an envelope. This isn't working. Oh, it's because I'm printing the whole thing. So yeah, sorry. Let's just disconnect that. Here we go. Like, it is currently showing us all of the stuff, and it thinks they've got an envelope on them because we're not like properly filtering this. So in our parent module, we need to we need to do this, which we've done. We need to create this, and then we need to go to parent module child. And then we don't want the OSC one. We want to override the function. That was my problem. We're on OSC float, and then back to event graph, OSC float, convert function to event. Here we go. And then we can pull in our message from here. So this should only show if there's a thing, which there isn't. But if we go back to here, we stop our piano and we start hitting this again. It's got a capital E, so I might need to just go and change something, but that's fine. We've got our envelope going now. So yeah, we're getting both types of data, which is super helpful. Cool. All right, so that is working. We've got our envelope data and we've got our MIDI data, which are kind of like the two main ones that we might want to use. Later on, we might introduce a kind of like mode or like on or off, but we're not going to do that right now because that's kind of like a sort of a functionality that we can add later that we can then pull from in the modules as we need them. All right, so I'm going to get rid of these print strings, and what we'll do is we'll probably leave it there, and then the next one we'll set up some animation, a bit more interesting animation, and like some possible different ways that we can use this. So join us next time.